We begin this morning with a return of a diplomatic tradition as the White House hosted its first state dinner in 3 years.
Yeah, President Biden welcomed French President Emmanuel Macron to the White House for the star-studded affair. The event highlighted the deep, long-standing alliance between France and the U.S.
France was our first ally, first country to fly the American flag after our revolution. And Frank hosted the first diplomatic post. Before, more than anything else, France has been our first friend.
More on this. We're joined by NBC News correspondent Josh Lederman. Josh, good morning to you. So this was President Biden's first state dinner nearly 2 years into his administration. How is this one different from those hosted by other presidents? What was notable last night?
Hey guys, good morning. Well, it was notable for one reason because this was the first time there has been a state dinner at the White House since September 2019, before the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this was really a return of the pomp and circumstance that has characterized these state dinners over the years, and a real opportunity to put the longstanding friendship between the U.S. and France front and center. It was designed after the shared colors of the U.S. and French flags, red, white, and blue, with guests served Maine butter poached lobster, an American cheese array, wines from various countries. And it was truly a star-studded event with folks from the entertainment industry like Julie Louis-Dreyfus and Stephen Colbert, as well as Supreme Court Justice Breyer. We saw Republicans like Kevin McCarthy and Democrats like Nancy Pelosi all in the same room for this one special evening to celebrate the longstanding alliance and friendship between the U.S. and France.
Yeah, Josh, as you mentioned, that's sort of the main goal, is celebrating that long-standing relationship. But these are friends with differences, specifically over the Biden administration's signature Inflation Reduction Act. Explain that and how that was addressed.
Yeah, on the surface, the U.S. and France share the goal of quickly transitioning to clean energy. But France and other European countries have been upset about the way that President Biden's climate spending really has these protectionist Buy American provisions that say, for example, if an American's going to go out and get a subsidy from the government to buy an electric vehicles, it's got to be an American-made one. Well, guess what? The French make a lot of electric vehicles as well. French President Macron, very open as he came here to Washington about the fact that they were very upset about how that was affect and perhaps disadvantage their industries. President Biden acknowledged the concerns, calling them glitches, both leaders saying that they are working to sort of recalibrate the way their two countries can integrate their work on clean energy so that one's gains don't come at the deficit of another.
Josh, while we have you, I want to talk about one other thing coming out of the White House. President Biden's making some waves within his own party. He's recommending South Carolina replace Iowa as the first state in the Democrats' 2024 presidential nomination process. Our viewers might remember South Carolina is the state that really turned things around for Biden, making him a frontrunner in 2020. Things didn't go so well in Iowa in 2020. So what's the White House saying about this, and how are Democrats responding?
Well, everyone knew something was going to be coming after that debacle in Iowa during the last presidential caucuses that you were alluding to, Joe. But now the president, in a new letter to the DNC Rules Committee, is saying that what he wants to see is for South Carolina to go first in the presidential nominating season, followed by Nevada and New Hampshire sharing the second date before the contest goes on to states like Georgia and Michigan and others. President Biden saying that, look, black voters who are so critical to the electorate in South Carolina must be able to shape the nomination from the very beginning of the process and all throughout the process. It's also a bit of payback for a state that really helped President Biden's presidential ambitions come back to life after they seemed like they were so dead way back in that 2020 presidential nominating contest.
All right, Josh Lederman. Josh, thanks so much.
All right, let's turn now to Georgia, where early voting is wrapping up today ahead of next week's Senate runoff election. Both Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker have gotten a boost in recent days thanks to some support from party heavy hitters. Former President Obama was at a rally with Warnock in Atlanta last night, and Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has put his support behind Walker after choosing to not campaign with him leading up to the November election. NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard joins us now from a polling center in Marietta, Georgia. Vaughn, good morning. Good to see you. If you could walk us through what we heard from former President Obama yesterday. What was his message to voters in Atlanta?
Yeah, good morning, guys. First, if I could, Look at this. You'd think it's Tuesday. Folks are voting. This is the last day of early voting here in the state of Georgia. The polls just opened up literally here at the top of the hour, and there are already folks waiting in line here just north of Atlanta. Former President Obama was here last night campaigning for Raphael Warnock. This is the second month in a row in which he is urging voters to get out and support the Democratic incumbent here. And he made the case also against Republican Herschel Walker, saying that folks should choose somebody who is deep into policy and is actually from Georgia. A slight against Herschel Walker, who has been a longtime resident of Texas. I want to let you hear directly from Obama, though, last night. Take a listen.
It's good to know that folks would prefer normal to Looney Tunes. That's a good thing. I'm here to tell you that we can't let up. I'm here to tell you we can't tune out. We can't be complacent. We have to run to the tape. And that means all of us doing our part to make sure that Raphael Warnock goes back to being the United States Senator from the great state of Georgia. And I know you can do it because you've done it before.
It is all about turnout for these two candidates now in this last-minute dash as we head into the weekend before Tuesday's runoff.
Coming up pretty quick here, Vaughn. And we mentioned that Governor Kemp is now campaigning for Walker. But why is he doing that now after he chose not to do that in the lead up to November?
Look, Brian Kemp is indisputably a popular figure here in the state of Georgia. He roundly beated Democrat Stacey Abrams by nearly 8 percentage points. And despite receiving the criticisms of the likes of Donald Trump earlier this year, the former president had called him a coward and a turncoat after he certified Joe Biden's win here in the state of Georgia. He's sort of this unique American political figure. He stood up to Donald Trump, but also nobody's going to doubt his conservative credentials. And that is where Herschel Walker is now looking to him to help boost his bid. But there were 200,000 voters that did not vote for Herschel Walker who did vote for Brian Kemp. And that is why this late bid from Kemp could help him out. I want to let you hear part of an interview and when I sat down with the governor just yesterday. Take a listen. There were 200,000 Georgians who voted for you for governor, but did not vote for Herschel Walker, the Republican for the U.S. Senate. From your own assessment first, why?
Well, look, I personally don't feel like that's an issue in the runoff. You know, the runoff to me, this is a turnout election.
You've got to convince a good segment of those folks to come out turn out and vote for Herschel
if they come
Walker.
back and vote. But you also had a lot of people that voted for the Libertarian that nobody's talking about. If they come out and vote, you know, I'd say probably 70, 80%, maybe even close to 90 of those folks would vote for a Republican and vote for Herschel. But, you know, those are all theories and distractions in my mind. We got to get our people out.
The governor is right, especially on one front, and that is that we don't know how Tuesday is going to ultimately go. There are a lot of voters here in the state of Georgia, a lot of folks that may have voted one way 3 weeks ago, but they've got a whole nother opportunity here in these final days before the Tuesday runoff.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what those split ticket voters in November choose to do this time around. Vaughn Hilliard, thank you.
On Capitol Hill, Congress passed legislation yesterday averting a national rail strike. The move spares the American economy from taking another hit ahead of the holidays. The measure, already approved in the House, forces a new contract on workers and freight rail companies who remained locked in a stalemate. President Biden has been pushing lawmakers to take action. He released this statement yesterday saying, quote, "I will sign the bill into law as soon as Congress sends it to my desk. Working together, we have spared this country a Christmas catastrophe in our grocery stores, in our workplaces, and in our communities." NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now. Ryan, good morning to you. So, well, there were enough votes in the Senate for the bill to pass. There were some surprising divides here between lawmakers on this. It wasn't just some Republicans who voted no. So did some Democrats. I mean, tell us how this all played out.
Yeah, the best example that the political spectrum is a circle, not a straight line, Joe. We did see some odd political bedfellows in this vote yesterday. Many progressive Democrats voting no on the final bill because they were unhappy that element involving paid sick leave did not get into the final bill. And a few surprising Republicans voting for that paid sick leave package, including folks like Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, and Marco Rubio, ones that don't tend to normally agree with unions. But at the end, sum total of all of this is that it ended up passing with ease, averting what could have potentially been a massive economic problem during a very crucial time of the year. This agreement that was originally agreed to by a certain number of the unions, the Biden administration, and the rail companies will go into effect. And it will do so without that additional paid sick leave, although President Biden has indicated that fight is not over, and he's going to continue to work for that, not just for rail workers, but for all Americans, Joe.
It's worth noting Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders fist bumped. That's how strange this vote was. All right, so President Biden says the deal is an improvement for rail workers. So what are the new terms of this contract?
Yeah, there's no doubt that while the unions didn't get everything they were looking for, they did get some quite a bit of improvements to their contract. The 24% pay increase, they're going to get immediate payouts that average in the $11,000 range. They're going to get better health care benefits, and they'll get one extra paid day off. So that is better, but progressives have long argued that that is still not enough. And Secretary Pete Buttigieg was trying to explain why sick leave is such a difficult thing to extend to rail workers because of the timing of how these engines have to be on the tracks and get to their intended destinations. Progressives really aren't buying it. There are a lot unhappy with the idea that the unions were forced to capitulate on this. So this fight over paid sick leave just started at this stage of the game and is going to continue on. And I should also point out, Joe, as you're talking about Ted Cruz fist bumping Bernie Sanders, this vote that many of these Democrats have, that's going to be something that many of these Democrats remind them of when they come back to the table again and talk about paid family leave across the board, not just for rail workers. They're going to remind Ted Cruz that he voted for this now, and why couldn't he vote for it in the future?
You're setting up my next question here, Ryan, which is about this sick leave issue, paid sick leave. I mean, is it going to resurface down the road? If so, when could that happen? How could it happen?
Yeah, it's going to, for sure, Joe. But it's not going to be specifically directed just towards the rail workers. In many ways, they've continued a conversation that's been happening on Capitol Hill for some time. Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, others have fought for a wide expansion in paid family leave and sick leave. It was part of the reconciliation debate that took place on Capitol Hill. This is something that Democrats have long thought is an issue that should be across partisan lines that could get both Republican and Democratic votes. Now, they couldn't get it passed when Democrats controlled the House and the Senate. So the idea that it's got a realistic shot of passing through a Republican-controlled Congress is slim, but the margin's only 4 or 5 votes on the Republican side. That's something maybe Democrats could push over the finish line. A lot of work to do in the new Congress, though, if it's going to happen.
All right, big vote yesterday, but more to come. Ryan Nobles, Ryan, thanks so much.
Now to the latest developments in the DOJ's investigation into former President Trump's handling of classified documents. A federal appeals court has dismissed the order that appointed a special master to review the documents seized by federal agents from Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. In their ruling, the appeals court said, quote, "We agree with the government that the district court improperly exercised equitable jurisdiction and that dismissal of the entire proceeding is required." The ruling now lifts the restrictions placed on the DOJ to review the documents it took from Trump's Florida estate back in August. The appeals court also said the ruling will take effect in 7 days unless the Supreme Court intervenes.
To the World Cup now, where tension and drama are set to take center stage tomorrow when the knockout stage of the tournament begins.
Yeah, you can feel the excitement. It's building for the USA's match against the Netherlands, with a place in the quarterfinals up for grabs. But the U.S. could be without star player Christian Pulisic, who hobbled off with an injury during the team's win against Iran. Here he is talking about his chance of playing in tomorrow's game.
I'm taking it day by day right now, and I will do everything in my power to work with this medical team and make sure that I can play. It feels great to score in a World Cup. Timmy knows what that's like. I think I'm hoping I haven't had that moment yet, to be honest. I'm hoping it's in front of me. So it feels great to be where we're at right now, but there's still more to come.
We're joined now by Matthew Slater. He is a senior soccer news reporter for The Athletic, so he's busy right now. Matthew, good to have you with us. So how badly does Team USA need Christian Pulisic? If they don't have him, can they win? If they do have him, can they win?
It's a very good question. He certainly helps. Look, I've seen the US play a couple times now this tournament, and I think you've got a really good team, really young, really hardworking, very athletic, nice structure. The problem you have This is not unique to the US. Every soccer team has this issue, is putting the ball in the net and creating chances. And that's where Pulisic is your guy. That game against Iran was sort of fairly typical in that US were playing really well, clearly the team on top, but they just required a spark. And that's what Pulisic does. It was great movement. It was brave. And then, of course, he goes off. And then we saw what happened. And it's not the first time. Things get harder for the States. You got a little bit defensive, but I think you missed him. He is a very, very good player. And of course, every team would miss a player as good as Pulisic.
So this World Cup has been full of just so many shocks. Just yesterday, we saw some of the big hitters like Germany and Belgium crash out of the tournament. So what went wrong for these teams, and just how surprised are you from what we've seen from Morocco and Japan, who progressed in their places?
Well, I think with Germany, they were a bit unlucky. I saw, again, a couple of their games, and they were very good against Japan and somehow conspired to lose that one. Good game against Spain, and then, of course, they beat Costa Rica. So they were a tad unlucky. Again, a lack of that putting the ball in the net. Certainly in that Japan game, they created so many chances. I think there was an amazing stat that I think only 2 times in football history has a team completed 700 passes and managed to lose, and that was one of them. I think the other one was the Spain game, actually. That was a draw. So, look, they had a lot of possession. Belgium is a slightly different story. They didn't play very well. And I think that's the end of their cycle. They've had this sort of golden generation, and they just got old. And I don't know how happy the camp was. So, yes, 2 slightly different stories there. But you're right, loads of surprises. It's great. World Cups need that. And, it certainly brought a lot of energy.
They got old. Now I feel old. All right, Matthew Slater, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the match tomorrow.
Well, former NFL wide receiver Antonio Brown is facing a new controversy in Florida. Tampa Bay police have issued an arrest warrant for the football pro in connection with a domestic battery incident. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has more.
The question is, when will Antonio Brown be arrested? The controversial NFL wide receiver has had a laundry list of legal issues and now is facing new accusations of domestic violence. Tampa police say they're trying to arrest former NFL player Antonio Brown, making multiple attempts outside this home to execute an arrest warrant for battery domestic violence. The department telling NBC News he's, quote, not communicating with police officers. It's the latest twist in the 34-year-old saga that's gone well beyond the gridiron. The charges stemming from an incident Monday involving Brown and the mother of 4 of his children. According to court documents, Brown threw a shoe at the woman, striking her in the ponytail. The victim had no injuries, but believed the shoe was meant for her head. In the same document, police describe learning Brown tossed the woman's belongings out of the house and then made threats via speakerphone, saying that if she got in the house, he would shoot her in front of police. It also says the kids did not want to go inside because they were afraid of their dad when he gets in these destructive moods. After the incident, a petition to remove Brown's guns and ammunition under a risk protection order was rejected by a Florida judge, citing lack of physical action. How is it possible there wasn't enough evidence to take his guns away, but there is enough evidence to potentially prosecute him for domestic violence?
The judge got this one wrong. The Florida statute that allows for these risk protection orders gives a series of factors that can be considered by the court. He met a number of them. Antonio Brown is a risk to not only himself, but to the members of the community and obviously to the mother of his children.
According to the petition, he kept 2 firearms in the house, a handgun and a rifle. NBC News has not been able to reach Brown's legal team for comment, as tonight he remains a wanted man by Tampa police. Tampa police tell me they're not going to risk officer safety for trying to execute a misdemeanor arrest warrant. Now, that said, if Brown's behavior escalates, so too could their response. As for the mother and her children, they have not returned to that home since the incident. Sam Brock, NBC News.
This morning, 6 million Americans are waking up to winter alerts.
It's that time of year. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us now for more on that in your morning News Now weather. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, guys. Great to see you. Yeah, we're waking up to winter alerts, wind alerts, also tracking some rain. We could see winds gusting up to 85 miles per hour in some spots. Some spots so chilly today. And then we also have a warm up in spots. So we're kind of all over the place. Let's start with the snowy side. You can see on radar where you see the blue, that is the snow falling. So it's pretty widespread from the Pacific Northwest into portions of the Southwest, the Intermountain West, the Northern Plains, and then eventually into the upper Midwest. And some spots could see up to 2 feet of snow. So winter alerts for 6 million people. Your winter storm warning, that is in the pink for portions of the Rockies, Sierra Mountains. We could see up to 2 feet of snow. Winter storm watch, that is in the blue, and a winter weather advisory is in your white. Wind alerts, very widespread as well into the Southwest, into portions of the Central Plains and Northern Plains, the Midwest, even creeping into the Ohio Valley. We're going to see winds gusting anywhere from 35, 45, 55, and as I said, up to 85 miles per hour, with 30 million people impacted. This is why we have a cold front that's moving through the country, that's bringing the snow, it's bringing the rain, and it's bringing the wind and really chilly temperatures behind it. So snow in the Rockies and the upper Midwest, and then another storm system right on deck after this one into the Pacific Northwest. It's going to bring more widespread snow, mountain snow, and also the chance for more rain into California. So we could see some flooding rains throughout California once again. Notice the reds, the oranges, the yellows. So we're going to see heavy rain. We need it, but it's coming quickly, and especially in the burned areas, we could see the flooding. As far as the snowfall forecast, very widespread into the upper Midwest. Where you see those pinks and purples, that's where we're expecting the highest amounts of snow. So into the Rockies, into the Sierra Nevada mountain, highest elevations of the mountains, up to 2 feet of snow, Mammoth Lakes, Bear Valley, Lone Pine. And rainfall forecast, anywhere along the coast, we're seeing really heavy rain. South of San Francisco, into Santa Barbara, Fresno, Sacramento, we're looking at the chance for some heavy rain, even up to 2.5 inches in some spots. Let's talk about the temperatures because they're very divided across the country. We have chilly highs in the Northeast, below normal for this time of year. Chicago right around the freezing mark, 3 degrees below normal, 41 in Cincinnati, 36 in Buffalo, 48 degrees today in D.C. And then we're really warm just a little bit to the west. So this is going to move into the east as we head throughout tomorrow. We're looking at temperatures 50 degrees in Chicago tomorrow. That is 10 degrees above average. 68 in Oklahoma City. It's December. 71 in Fort Worth, Little Rock, 62 degrees. And this will move east. So into the Northeast, we're looking at temperatures starting to rise as we head towards Sunday and Monday. 64 tomorrow, but we're going to trade off with some showers and also some breezy conditions. Charlotte, we're looking at 55. So for today, plenty of sunshine, windy and warm throughout the middle of the nation, and heavy snow back behind that cold front into the mountains. Back to you guys.
All right, a little bit of everything. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.